I think we're live. It looks like we're live. Hello there. My name is Tim Patterson, and I'm just closing out a couple of windows here. This is the webinar called Using Webinars to Promote Your Trade Show Appearance. Make sure everything is working here. I've got the broadcast area and I've got the receiving area, and so let's see if this happens the way it's supposed to. I got music in my headphones. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but okay, so you're not hearing the music. That's obvious. All right, so the music is off in my head, but I'm here. Anyway, I do have, I need to take my headphones off for a second. I'm just going to take a moment here because usually if we're going to roll this thing and give everybody a chance to get in, we'll give them about a minute. If they're late, then they can watch the replay. I know I did get some emails from people that says I can't attend, but I'd like to watch this later, and that's kind of one of the points of it. So we got an audience that's beyond just who is joining us here. So let me go up and find what I need to find for screen sharing. Let's see here. Screen share, I need to pull up my slide deck. There, it looks like the one. Let's see here. I'm going to go to full view. And you should be able to see this. Let me see if this all works properly. All right. All right. There's a bit of a delay because it's interesting. I'm actually watching the broadcast over here, and then I'm seeing the broadcast as it goes out. There's like a good 8 or 10 second delay. That's the internet, you know. I work in a local radio station. I volunteer at a community radio station. I do a reggae show once a week for a couple of hours, and it's interesting too because the signal goes from our studio through the internet up to our broadcast tower. So there's a bit of a delay there. We also are online, so you can listen to us online, and there's like a 30-second delay there. So it's really weird to try and listen to yourself on the radio as it is to try and listen to yourself here with now this is weird because now the screen share is gone. So what happened here? So you got to be able to see the screen. Why are you not seeing the screen? Okay, we have technical difficulties. We have technical difficulties. You're not seeing the screen share. They just went away. Why is that not? Why is that? Let me try again. Maybe if I go to full screen, that loses it. That's kind of weird. Anyway, we'll get started here in just a second. All right, now you're seeing that. We'll just leave it there. That'll be fine. So the name of the webinar is How to Use Webinars to Promote Your Trade Show Appearance and 7 Other Unusual Ideas to Attract Booth Visitors. This won't be a very long webinar. A couple of rehearsals, 20 to 25 minutes. I'm Tim Patterson. Trade Show Guy Exhibits is my company. I blog at tradeshowguyblog.com. You'll find me online at at YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and all that sort of stuff. But let's just jump right in so we can kind of discuss the various ways to use webinars and how you do it to promote your trade show appearance. First of all, why would you do this? Well, everybody wants to bring people to their booth. I think it's very critical that you use every possible avenue you can to bring people to your booth. And I've not seen these used more than once or twice, and I think it's one of those tools that could be utilized a lot more than it is to let people know about what you're doing at your trade show booth beforehand. So it's just kind of your pre-market, your pre-show marketing that gets people's appetites whetted for coming by your booth. You can be very specific about it. You have an audience that is focused on what you're doing, and so there are a number of reasons why you might explore using a webinar to promote your trade show appearance. So if you're going to do that, here's some ideas on how to do it and what to do it with. So first of all, you need to identify your goals, as in any kind of trade show marketing. any kind of trade show, what are your goals for this particular show? Are you doing a product launch? You got a brand new service, a brand new product you're going to tell people about? Are you looking to really build up your client relations? Are you looking for publicity? You trying to do some public relations work, get into the local media or do trade industry magazines and that sort of thing. So use publicity as part of your trade show marketing. Is there something else? Is there a combination of all these? I think the good thing about goal setting is that if you identify the number one goal and the number two goal, everything else will fall in line. But if you really focus on number one and number two, that's going to do your marketing a whole lot better. So next thing, of course, is identify your market. Is your market your current clients? Are you looking for new prospects? Is it a combination of both? Are you trying to work with industry partners and make your trade show marketing work a whole lot better? Are you trying to work with colleagues? A lot of people actually go to shows so they can identify these various partners and colleagues, and maybe even, they're a growing company and they need to possibly hire a couple of people. So that could be a reason for going to shows as well. You want to identify what region or industry you're in. You probably know that, but this is still a good exercise to go through all of these processes to make sure you really know what you're doing when you set up your webinar. Now you finally are to the point where you're planning the webinar. So the first thing you want to do is gather the content. What's the focus of your webinar? Is it going to be, you need to come up with written material. Of course, you need to have photos or images or logos and things like that. So this is all the stuff that goes into it. You just throw this into your funnel. It goes into the webinar, and you've got to learn how to organize all this stuff. You might have a video that you can play in your webinar. You want to do demonstrations. There are various things that you can do as you plan your webinar. You could put some how-tos in there on how things work with your product or service. So there's a lot of great information you can put in your webinar that will entice people to want to come to your booth. You don't want to give everything away, but you want to give enough away so that when people do get to your booth, there's more for them to see. So now you're planning the webinar. You've got various tools. We'll talk about PowerPoint and Keynote. There could be Prezi. You also want to figure out who are the presenters. Is it just one person like this one where I'm just doing the lone presenting? Do you have more than one? You have a couple. Maybe you have 3 or 4 different people that are going to be presenters in sort of a round robin. You got to figure out how long this is going to be. Who's going to write the thing and put the slide deck together? You don't have to have a slide deck. I've done webinars where we've just had on-screen chats between various people. So slide decks are not critical, but they're a great way to get people involved and give them something to look at other than your smiling face. This is a great way to give them notes, as it were, visual notes of what's going on in your webinar as you plan your webinar. And you want to know what your time schedule is. When is the webinar going to be, and how are you going to promote it? You also got to figure out what platform to use. Now, there are certainly some logical ones. GoToWebinar has been around a long time. It's a very sturdy platform that a lot of people use. There is a monthly cost commitment to it, not a lot, depending on where you come from, if it's a lot or not. Webinar Jam is something that I've used for a year, and I like it for about 95% of what it does. There's a couple of bugs in it that I'm not crazy about, but I think overall it's a really good tool. Anymeeting.com is still around. You can get a free version as well as a paid version. The paid version, of course, there are ads that pop, or excuse me, the free version, you do get ads that pop up on Anymeeting, but it's a pretty stout platform. Webinars on Air I've heard about and looked at. I don't know that I've ever done anything with them, but I think I've attended a webinar presented on Webinars on Air. Adobe Connect is also a platform that may be more useful for meetings, but I'm sure they can do webinars on that as well. If you're looking for other ones, just do a search online for webinar platform. You will find a lot of choices. And what you might do as far as choosing a platform is talk to colleagues, people that have done more webinars than you, and say, what works best for you? We're going to do this, this, and this. Maybe we'll just do one. Maybe you can use a free platform for once, or maybe we're going to do a series of webinars over several months, and it behooves you to invest in something like a GoToWebinar or a Webinar Jam. And now, of course, you're creating your presentation. We're back to the software. What do you use? PowerPoint, Keynote, or Prezi? If there's others, I haven't heard of them. I tend to use Keynote, and then it's odd because when you do a presentation, I've got 2 screens on my computer. The Keynote takes up both screens, and so I can't really see what it looks like at the end result. So I end up exporting it to a PDF, and that works pretty well for me. So PowerPoint does the same thing. Prezi is an online, but you can also save that. I believe there are, and I've used that a few times. I really like it. But I tend to default to Keynote because I'm a Mac guy. But Prezi is not a bad. My 16-year-old kid likes to use that for presentations he does in school when he is forced to do these things. But I like Prezi, and I believe there's also a paid and non-paid version of that. And there are certain things you can do with the paid that you can't do with the free version. So you got to organize all your content, make it work well. You've got to write a script. In most cases, you have to write a script. I think in most cases, in all cases, you should write at least an outline. And often, maybe your slide deck is your outline. So you know the material well enough that all you need is the cues to walk yourself through all of this. But writing a script, I've done that many times. And so when it's time for the webinar, you're actually reading it verbatim. Some people are good at this. Some people are not. So does, work with what works best for you. When you're putting the slides together, it's great to use just one idea per slide so that you're not jamming too much in there. Certainly bullet points will suffice for supporting that one idea. Use images that evoke emotion. People can look at images and get an idea about something. I think that's a great thing. So that's an interesting choice. And there are a lot of free images out there. I've got a lot of stock photos that have been given to me over the years, and that's what you show up here, as well as pictures I've taken. If you're just grabbing stuff off the internet, sometimes you run into content copyright issues, so I tend not to do that. I have in the past, but I recently not so much. But where's that content? Where are those images coming from? And of course, then put all the information in a logical order. Make sure that you go through this so that it works really well for you. Rehearse at least a couple of times. 3 times is my recommendation. That way you know the material. And I think the more people that are involved in this, probably the more rehearsals. That way you understand the transitions from one to another. You're better at it. You're smoother at it, and it's just going to be more comfortable. And so schedule those rehearsals as well as the final walkthrough, and give yourself enough time to make any changes after each rehearsal, so that you know exactly what the next rehearsal will entail, the changes you've incorporated from the previous one, because that always happens. Believe me, when you do a presentation and you do a rehearsal, you're going to find something that didn't work as well as you wanted. You're going to find redundancies in there that didn't work as well. And so creating your presentation, rehearsing it, will really help to make it a whole lot better. Now it's time to promote the webinar. Of course, you can email everybody that you know that are clients. You can call people as well. I think if you call someone and you ask them, it's not a bad thing to do. You're not going to get a lot of mileage out of it, in the sense that you're not going to reach as many people, because you're just doing one-on-one instead of doing an email blast to a lot of people. A phone call, though, if you reach the right people and you can talk to them about it, it's a much more personal invitation. I think there's a lot of value to that as well. Certainly promote the media, the webinar on social media in various ways, whatever you're adept at. Make sure that you're sending links out to your landing page and that sort of thing, and using hashtags that relate to your industry, so that people that stumble across it might go, oh, I didn't know they were doing this. Let me go sign up for this. If you want, send out press releases. I do this on occasion, but not all the time. Just depends on how big you want the webinar, how much effort you want to put into promoting your webinar, but nothing's wrong with that. I've sent out postcards and other direct mail for certain various things, and for webinars on occasion. It's a rather rare, but you can do these things to promote your webinar. It also helps support your trade show appearance. Keep in mind that this webinar is supporting your trade show appearance, and so everything can be built around your trade show appearance. Let's say coming next March, you're going to be there at the show for 3 days. You're going to do a lot of work to get people there during the time frame between now and then. And so postcards or other direct mail can also not only mention the webinar that you're doing to promote the trade show appearance, but the trade show itself. Put your booth number on that and all sorts of things. When it comes time to do the actual webinar, start on time. I remember when I attended my first few webinars a long time ago, people would kind of waste 5 or 10 minutes, getting the technical stuff right. And then they would say, well, there's probably still people coming in. And next thing you know, 5 or 10 minutes have gone, and they're getting to the content eventually. They got to tell a story about themselves. I tend to want to just cut to the chase. If your webinar is at 9 o'clock, you start the content by 9:01, a quick introduction, and you're off and running. That way you're respecting people's time, and then you get the content out there, and they will respect you. They'll want to come back and do it more. The guys that would do the 5 or 10 minute intro and trying to get the technology to work. And then they'd spend another 10 minutes talking about themselves or their history or whatever, and then they try and sell you something. I tend to not attend too many of those webinars from those guys. Make sure you end on time. If you tell them there's an end date or an end time, it's going to be 40 minutes, and we'll do Q&A. Make sure you respect that as well. If you do go long, and there are certainly some webinars I've attended that have gone long, what you can do at that point, I actually attended a webinar in the last couple of weeks that was scheduled for an hour, ended up going almost an hour and a half. But at the hour, they said, we're recording this. If you want to stick around, we're going to do more Q&A. We've got a lot of questions that people want to get answered. We'll be glad to do that. We'll stay here as long as you want. But if you have to leave, please do that. We'll send you a link to follow up later that you can now view the webinar at your leisure. So end on time and respect people's time, but be able to extend that if that warrants it. Sometimes it's great to offer some sort of freebie, such as a download, a coupon, a prize, an ebook, some sort of thing that shows you're giving value for people that attend and make it all the way through. And of course, make sure you thank everybody, and then you're off and running. Record the webinar so then you can post it on your blog and share it on social media so that people that run across it in the future that might possibly be going to that trade show can learn as well if they didn't see about it earlier. So they can find it on your blog. They can find a link to your blog from your tweets on social media. So it's a good thing to do is record those things, which we do with this. And then the follow-up, send out an email, a reminder about the show itself, the show dates, the booth number, what's going to be in the booth. We got special guests, we got new products and that sort of thing. A webinar replay, again, to share with colleagues. So this is your follow-up a week or two after the webinar, or maybe just prior to the show. You've got a week or two before the show. People are getting ready to go. Here's a reminder what we did 3 months ago or a month and a half ago for the webinar. If you want to get refreshed again, please come by. And I knew this webinar wouldn't run all that long, so I thought, well, let me come up with a few other different sort of unusual ideas that might work to attract booth visitors. So I kind of went through my archives and came up with a few interesting things. So let's share just a handful of things. 7 unusual ideas that you don't see a whole lot that could be used to draw people to your booth. I think number 1 is swag. Have lots of great swag. T-shirts, hats, buttons. I've seen people hand out T-shirts to shuttle drivers and bellhops and restaurant workers, bartenders. You're paying them maybe $10 to wear the shirt for the night or the day or something like that. So they're a block or 2 or 3 off-site where show people will come and they're wearing your T-shirt. I think that's a kind of a cool thing, or your hat, or they've got a big button on that has your booth number, something like that. So I think having a lot of swag and spreading that around is a good way to it's guerrilla marketing in a sense, which I'm all behind. That's great. Do a Twitter contest. When people show up to your booth, offer prizes for visitors, have them take a photo against some sort of backdrop that you've created. And make sure that they tweet them out or share on Instagram using a hashtag that you've got there. I've seen this done very, very effectively. People come by, they take a picture, they tweet it out, and then people that are following the show hashtag know about your booth as well. I think that's a great way. It's probably more common. It's not that unusual, but I think it's a great, clever way to do things that is not done enough, frankly, and it can be very effective. Here's an idea I really like. Everybody's got a cell phone at a smartphone at a show, and everybody's battery is running out. So not only do you get a cool charging station for your booth, which attracts those visitors, but if you have some sort of activity for them to do while they're there, that would be great as well. I don't know if it's spinning a wheel. I'd like, somehow I've just read last few months about adult coloring books. Put some adult coloring books out there and put some crayons or some colored pencils. It's just an idea. So they've got 15 minutes that they can sit there. You can talk to them while they're doing all this and learn about them and find out if they're potential clients. If your booth is big enough, this warrants maybe a bigger charging station, but certainly it's a great thing to draw people to your booth, and when people are there, give them something to do. So I think charging them up is also a great thing. Bring the band. This has been done very effectively. I've seen lots of exhibitors have a band in their booth. I've only seen one use a Dixieland band that marched the entire show floor. And that was Bob's Red Mill. They opened their show experiences at Expo West with the Dixieland band. They would march through. There's like a 5-piece band, a little drummer, banjo player, and some horn players as well. And, you know, they had kind of a parade there. So that drew a lot of attention. That definitely gets people to your booth and kind of as guerrilla marketing. I like this one too. I've seen these stickers, you know, follow me to the booth. So you get these sticky backed footprints with a message with the booth number. I would presume something like this, you got to coordinate with show organizers, but it's done all the time and it's kind of cool. Maybe it's a one-day only thing. You're paying for the ability to put these footsteps down from the front door all the way to your booth, maybe in the back of the hall if that's the case. But it does draw traffic, and it's a great creative way to do that. How about this? Hire a sidewalk chalk artist outside the venue. If it's a nice sunny day, have someone put together a sidewalk piece of artwork for you that has your booth number on it and shows off your products. I think that's a great way to let people know about your booth and your booth number outside of the venue. It gives people kind of a, oh, I got to go see that booth. I didn't know they did that. That's great. You know. And finally, drop the mic. I've seen this done very effectively too. Whether it's a TV with cameras or radio with microphones or doing podcasting, whatever they're doing, media, it attracts people. People want to stop and look at people being interviewed. If you stick a mic in somebody's face and talk to them for 10 minutes about their product or services, you can actually hire people that come by and spend a half a day or a day at your booth interviewing managers, customers, getting testimonials, all of this. You can record all this. You can post it on your blog. There's a great way to use multimedia, and you also get photographs out of it. You can get some video out of it. So hire a crew to create kind of a radio show, TV show in your booth. You're interviewing visitors and clients, and people are learning about your product, and they're sharing their experiences with it. I think doing multimedia is a great way to attract attention and draw people to your booth so that once they're there, they learn more about what you're doing and you can talk to them. Like I said, this is going to be a fairly short webinar, so I'll cut you loose here. I'm going to go back and let's see. If you want to email me, by all means, you can call me right there. It's the number. Follow me on Twitter at Tradeshow Guy. Go to the company website at tradeshowguyexhibits.com or the blog at tradeshowguyblog.com. And the Tradeshow Success book is also available. Just go to tradeshowsuccessbook.com, 14 proven steps to take your trade show marketing to the next level. So let me go over here and stop the screen share and come back. Hey, there we are. I just want to thank you. Let me go back and see if we have any questions real quick. Chat room. I appreciate you all coming by, and I'm going to cut you loose because, like I said, it was going to be a short one. I'm on vacation next week. I'm going golfing in California with a buddy, and have yourself a great, it's, you know, kind of a slow time of year in the trade show world. But nonetheless, we'll be at it shortly. And I got a couple of projects I'm working on, and appreciate your time. Thank you very much.